Hi, welcome back to another Gadget Report. Let's talk gadgets, and we are closing this month of July with another gadget related to the whole incident with the flight Air India flight AI 171. And with this, I conclude this month with something that we have seen since that incident happened, and unfortunately with other incidents, that is speculation. Our speculation is detrimental to any investigation and really does not help, does not add anything positive, and if anything, it just suits the purpose of newspapers selling more and ratings and all that, which quite frankly, it's quite disgusting when we think that we are dealing with people's lives and sometimes hundreds of people that die in these disasters and have their families grieving for their loss, or sometimes in some cases we have some survivors that went through a very traumatic event and they see it played up on the news in a way that is quite frankly most of the times very disgusting, and it doesn't really help anything. So on this Insider, I'm going to talk about speculation and how speculation can really damage the investigation and damage a lot of things, and especially cause a lot of grief for families and survivors when there is survivors. So come with me, let's talk gadgets. So let's talk about speculation. Let's talk about all this issue and why why speculating is so detrimental to investigations, the families, the victims' families, the survivors when they're survivors. Why? And first of all, how wrong it is to do it. We've been going on a frenzy in the past month or so since flight AI 171 Air India crashed, and it's been crazy. A lot of theories have been put out there, a lot of things have been said. They claim all sorts of things. Yes, we have footage which obviously show something that it's a fact. We have footage of the plane crashing. We know that the flaps and slats were not deployed. We know that the rat was down. We all know that, and that's fact. But that's not the conclusion. That does not give us the answers as to why the aircraft went down, why the aircraft were not gaining altitude. Yes, we may explain the fact it was not gaining altitude because the flaps and slats were not deployed. But we also know that the rat was down and there was definitely some sort of major electrical failure within the aircraft, otherwise the rat would not be down. So this is what we know, but we don't know what caused it. So any sort of theory that people may come up with in regards to this is not helping. It's only gonna go and, get things going overboard, and it's wrong. A lot in most cases it's the media, they don't go after answers, they go after ratings and sales and things like that. Even in YouTube channels, they go after subscribers and things like that, and I don't think that's how you should grow a channel. I don't think that. So I think we should look for facts. The investigation is on, and we should wait until the investigation is finished and the facts are actually shown to us. And then, yes, if you want to run your personal comment about something that is based on a fact, go ahead and do it. I do it all the time. But before you have the facts, before everything is put on the table, I would say better keep quiet. I came across with an article from a professor. She is the program director of the Bachelor of Aviation program in the University of Southern Queensland. Her name is Dr. Natasha Heap, and she wrote an article about the negative effect of speculation and how speculation affects everyone, affects the families of the victims, affects survivors when they're survivors, affects everyone, and how bad it is, really. She also says that this was after she was invited by one of the major media outlets in Australia to comment after the Air India disaster. To what she cautioned them, she said she was not going to go into speculation, and she said she was going to mention that it was too early to speculate, because obviously she is in such a prominent position. She was not going to go and run some sort of theory, even though, yes, we saw the flap slats were not deployed, we saw the rat, but that's not the end of the story. In most air crashes, there's not only one factor, and after months of investigation, they end up finding that several factors contributed to that disaster. Sometimes it is, yes, bad maintenance. Sometimes it is a failure with the aircraft. Sometimes it is some other issues. It's usually a kind of a combination of factors that lead to a certain issue. So we should not go and preempt any conclusions if we don't have all the facts on the table, and we certainly don't have all the facts on the table. It is too early, and it will be a long time until we really have any answers out of this. Recently, there was a preliminary report that was put out, and they say there was some other things that were found by the black boxes, that the fuel switches were switched off, and there was some conversation between the pilots in regards to who had turned them off. This is the latest information that was put out. Again, we don't know exactly what happened. We don't know if any of the pilots did it. According to the conversation, apparently it might not have been them. We don't know anything. So, creating a story out of little pieces of information that are coming out here and there, it's not productive, it's not positive, and it's not going to help. In fact, I would say that sometimes these reports actually aggravate and increase the amount of speculation and the amount of things that are put out without fundament, without any factual verification, and it's really, really bad. So this is what has been said. So I will put the link for the article so you can read Dr. Natasha Heap's story, and you can see what were her findings, what she thinks it's so bad about the whole thing of speculation, because it is, let's face it, is bad. So the result of speculation in most cases is really detrimental. After every major accident, we see a constant feed, a constant stream of speculation, of news, because they want to keep themselves relevant. They want to keep themselves online, either on a TV channel or on YouTube or whatever it might be. They want to keep themselves relevant. They want to keep themselves going, and they want to keep you coming and watching over and over and over again. But we all know when something like this happens, then there's a significant period of time where we won't know anything, because they are collecting all the information. Sometimes the black boxes don't, are not found immediately after the crash. Sometimes the crash happens in very, very difficult terrain, which is very difficult to go and retrieve the black boxes. Also, there's the need to deal with either survivors or the bodies of the victims. There's a lot of processes that need to go into something horrible like this in order to get the answers. And most part of it come from the black boxes, but not all. Not all. The pieces of debris that are taken from the disaster zone, everything that is picked up, indeed the data that is collected by the black boxes, everything together will give them some answers. Sometimes, and most of the times, they will be looking at maintenance reports for that particular aircraft. And then, of course, they look at the pilot's history, if they had any issues, their training, how many hours, what have they done, what is the situation. This is how an investigation goes. Several things are looked into in order to get answers. But this is based on real facts. This is based on what they find, not on speculation. And this takes time. It's not an air crash happens today and tomorrow they already have the result. It's impossible. So it is a long time, and I believe in this particular occasion, we're not going to have any answers for some time yet, because the investigations are still ongoing. They still need to investigate and find out why the switches, now that we know there is this issue with the switches, why the fuel switches were off, why the flaps and slats were not deployed, why the rat was down. All of these in combination, they need to understand why this happened. But that's with facts. That's with whatever they have in front of them. We don't have any of that. The investigators do. And they are the ones who will eventually give us an answer. Dr. Natasha Heap mentioned also another very, very prominent case where speculation has gone rife, and we have lots of really damning stories, is with Malaysia Airlines MH370. A lot of theories have been put out there. The latest is blaming the pilot because of the situation that he had a flight simulator in his home, and he had been practicing the flight or the route that eventually they believe MH370 took before it crashed. Well, I think, and the same goes for Dr. Natasha Heap, that this is very damning. Not damning only for the pilot's family that feel very upset and cause a huge amount of distress to his family, because obviously they knew him, is a loved one, and out of a sudden is missing, as everyone else on board that aircraft. They're missing. We don't know exactly where the aircraft is. We don't have black boxes. We don't have anything. We don't have debris. or actually you have some debris that have been appearing here and there, but we don't have the main event. We don't have the full aircraft. We don't have the black boxes. We don't have the location. We have nothing. So just using things to create stories and create almost like a report out of something that is not based on facts, I think it fell short of good journalism. I think it falls short of a good service. Also, for the families of the victims, every single time that someone comes up and say that new evidence has been found about this disaster, and a new investigation is going to start, a new search is going to start, these people are grieving. They don't know where their relatives are. They don't know anything, as we don't. Nobody does. And every single time that you put this aircraft on the news, it's again another day that they are going to revisit that trauma. They are going to revisit that grief, because that's what it is. These people have been grieving for so long, and they don't have closure for their grief because they don't know where their relatives are. And every single time that people come up with these stories, they are poking their wound. It's bad. It's horrible. In the case of this disaster here in India, it's not anything close to what happened with MH370. This case, we actually have actual footage of the aircraft going down. There's more information. We obviously know where the aircraft crashed. The investigators have everything there. They went there straight away. Everything started. They have the black boxes. They have the information. So let's run this. Let's let them work. Let them find the causes, and then we can run our comments. I think this is the appropriate way of dealing with this. My opinion really is that we won't have the full story for quite a while. The investigations are going, and quite frankly, every time that a new report or something like that comes up, everything goes, and here we go on a frenzy of speculation, which doesn't help. So I think sometimes it's even better if nothing like this was released, and just let the thing, just inform whoever needs to know. And these are the families of the victims and those in close proximity with the disaster, and the general public can know about it once the full report is released and we know the final conclusions. Because every single time that you're going to add to the story, more stories are going to be added that have nothing to do with fact. So that's what I believe. This is my personal opinion. I think this is obviously a sad situation. They have everything in their hands. They have the voice recorder, the cockpit voice recorder. They have the other black box, the system recorder. They have everything there. The data recorder. They know what conversations were going on in the cockpit right before the crash. They know by the footage that person did of the plane falling, that obviously what we already know, the flaps, the slats not deployed, the rad was down. They know all of this. So now they need to get all these pieces of this big puzzle in order to get the final result. Until then, we need to wait. I think this is what happens in most disasters, and I think it will be the outcome with this one. I'll put the link for this article. because I found really interesting the article. I think it was really good. And I decided to talk about this today because I do think that it is a time that we need to stop and think that someone's ratings, someone's newspaper sales, someone's YouTube awards or subscribers or number of subscribers, I should say. Sometimes all of those things, on the other side, there's the grief of families that may have lost a loved one, you know, a mother that may have lost their son or daughter, a child that may have lost her mom or dad, and it's someone's life that we are dealing with. So I think every single time that people come and go on a rampage with these speculative stories, and because they think, oh, it's cool, I look cool, I look very knowledgeable because I just come here and I say, oh, this and that and this and that, and this is why the air crash happened and this and that. It's not cool at all, I don't think. I don't think it's cool at all, because we are actually dealing with someone else's grief. Even when there is survivors, in this particular case, unfortunately, there wasn't survivors. The same goes for MH370. We believe there was no survivors either. But sometimes there is survivors, and there's good stories that sometimes all of them survive. And there's no point. Even if everyone end up alive, and it's one of those success stories, if you go and if you speculate and you create all this sort of false information about something, regardless of the outcome, if it's a positive or negative outcome, if there is survivors, it's going to be a traumatic event for them. Even if they survived, they're going to carry the trauma of living through it, and it's not good. And every single time that people rehash the story and come up with false information and things that may not exactly be what happened, those people are going to revisit that trauma. They're going to live through it again and again and again and again. And this is not good. Just hurting people like that for the sake of ratings, I don't think is good. This is why I decided to talk about this today, and actually make people understand that every single time that you watch a video because someone put a crazy story about an accident or something very or some other tragedy that happened, and you go and you watch that and you give that person the ratings, think about the other side. Think about the families of the victims of that particular disaster, either with an aircraft, either with aviation or otherwise. There's always the other side. There's always the victims. There's always the survivors, if there is. There's always the families that of the victims of the disaster that are grieving. They are suffering. They want answers. And they want the right answers. They want the truth. They don't want lies. They don't want stories. They don't want, misinformation and blame games and things like that. This is why I found this article so interesting, especially the fact that this person, who is an aviation expert, was invited to go on here on one of the media outlets in Australia to comment about a disaster, which I find something very benign and very natural when something like this happens, to have someone in the industry commenting about it. It's fine. And when this person said, well, I'm not going to go into any speculation, and I am going to say that it is too early to speculate, because it is still. They called off the interview altogether because obviously that's what they were not interested in, that sort of commentary. They wanted someone that goes on here and starts creating a whole story at that time about the flaps, about the slats, about the rat, about this, about that, and then going about possible. There was even stories created about previous fines that the airline may have for lack of maintenance and things like that. Well, yes, that will play a part in the investigation, because as I said before, when you have something like this, everything is a piece of a puzzle, and usually one disaster like this is not only one cause. It is usually a combination of factors that lead to a disaster. So they will look into the maintenance of the aircraft, they will look into the records of the airline, they will look into the records of the pilots. Everything in an investigation like this, everything is looked and everything is thoroughly checked to find where could be a possible factor that led to that disaster. Before we have that conclusion, we should not run any commentary. And this is why I did this video today. And that's all for today. I hope you liked this gadget report. I know it is a very serious issue, and I decided to talk about it because, quite frankly, I'm a little tired of what has been going on, not only with this Air India incident, but with others. And I think it doesn't suit a purpose of any kind other than just pure greed of ratings and sales and subscriptions and or whatever it might be. And it's wrong, because it's people's lives that we are playing with here. So I decided to talk about this because I really thought is important, and especially because I wanted to draw a line on where I stand in all of this. And although I have an aviation related channel, it is my position that here I will talk about facts. I will not preempt any theories, any thing like that, if it's not on official reports, because that's the way I am in life. I believe that the facts are the ones that should be known and are the ones that should be commented upon, not just stories that are made up. And we see that with other things. We don't see that only with aviation or only with disasters or incidents. We see that with everything. We saw that, for example, with the pandemic, all the conspiracy theories that were made up about the pandemic and the vaccines and all of that. We see that basically today, everything and anything is a good reason to make up a crazy story and put up a crazy story and get everyone on board with something that it's actually not true. And that's wrong. And that's why I decided to call it out and say, no, this is not right. This needs to stop. And sometimes, just because you may work in aviation, or just because you might be, I don't know, a flight attendant, a pilot, someone that it's really prominent in the industry. If you run a commentary about something that it's not really a fact, if you're just running speculation, if you don't know the facts, if you are not into the team of investigators and you don't know exactly what are they looking at and what are the facts that they have in their hands, you are as bad as anyone else that creates stories for no good reason but ratings. So I don't want to do that, and I will not do that. I found this article very interesting. I'm going to leave the link below. I will also leave the link for my videos about the MH370, to which I started with one video based on an article that was published and then actually contradicted by someone that was actually involved in a lot of investigation about that aircraft and had a lot to say. So I'll leave the link for all my videos on that matter. And of course, you know, put a like and subscribe the channel with a little click on the bell, and you get a notification of a new gadget report every week. The channel has been growing and I'm very, very thankful for that. But if you don't put a like, if you don't comment or anything, it basically does nothing. So it is important that you keep things going by commenting, sharing with your friends, putting a like, subscribing the channel. It's for free and really helps me growing my channel, and of course helps other people finding my content. Also, if you have any suggestions about something that you would like me to talk about in my gadget reports, you can also leave a comment below. I'll be very happy to accommodate it. And of course, if you have any questions about anything gadget related, please leave a comment below and I'll be very, very, very happy to answer you. Before I go, I would like to thank you all for being there for me, and I'll see you next time. Bye!